Hello, my name is Teresa Spencer, and I'm a student at Liberty University Online. And this is my interpersonal communication project that I have developed. My professor is Dr. Gina Barker. So travel with me as I show you some of the tools and some of the lessons that I've learned throughout this last 8 weeks. In the first slide, we have the overarching goal. My overarching goal is, first of all and most of all, to be a great communicator. And to be a great communicator, I want to be able to communicate effectively to those that are around me, such as my family, my friends, my coworkers, parishioners, those that I go to church with, the community at large. I also want to effectively use my interpersonal communication skills, such as my verbal and nonverbal cues, to broaden and to deepen my relationships. And also to use my skills to work on my own weaknesses and my barriers. In the next slide, we have the background and behavioral blend, which is quite interesting. Carbonell says you have a predictable pattern of behavior because you have a specific personality. We all have a different personality. We all have a different way that we behave. I took 2 different evaluations. One was on thequeendom.com. In my queendom, I scored differently in different aspects. In my listening skills, you see I scored the highest at 74. My insightfulness was 68. My verbal expression was 62%. My assertiveness was not so high, that was 56. And my emotional management was the lowest, and that was 55%. Next, I took a Uniquely You profile. And in my Uniquely You profile, Carbonell has a 4-disc personality type. And basically, to explain that, he says that understanding the 4-quadrant model of basic human behavior often explains why people do what they do. Don't you want to know why you do what you do? My behavioral blend in particular, I'm first a steady specialist, and that's what this is me. Because it's 2 different things. It's this is me and this is expected of me. And I'm the steady competent type, which is the SC, and that's what is expected of me. So 2 different outlooks. There's the this is me and this is expected of me. Stewart says that one of my basic assumptions is that there is a direct link between the quality of your communication and the quality of your life. How awesome, how magnificent statement that is, to really know that there's a direct link between your communication and the quality of your life. Now let's look at some of the communication barriers, something I've learned about me. And what would be important is that you learn about your own communication barriers so that you can perfect your interpersonal communication skills. First, we have my communication strengths. I'm a good listener. I found that out, 74%, but that doesn't mean that I cannot get any better. I'm insightful, I'm steady, I'm stable, I'm compliant and careful. I'm also a servant, and my verbal expression. But even though these are strengths, that doesn't mean that I don't need to work on also my strengths. And then here are my weaknesses. Though they are few in number, they are very significant in something that I need to work on myself. And that's my assertiveness. I'm not as assertive as I need to be. My emotional management. I'm shy and I'm security oriented. In the next slides, we're going to look at resources and strategies that I've gained to be able to continue to work on my strengths and to work on my weaknesses and my barriers. Listening. First, you have the poor listener. There's so many different types of poor listeners, but to name a few, there's the faker in particular. The faker, Burley and Allen says that they pretend to listen when their minds are actually off on a flashing tangent. They're really not listening. They're doing something else. They're paying attention to something else. They're thinking about something else. There's the constant talker, the constant note taker, the disinterested listener, the super critic, the finish the sentence for you, and the know-it-all listener. There are all these types, and sometimes we are one of those types of listeners. But if we are a poor listener, we want to work on that skill so that we are not. And the next one is there's the listening. Now, listening is very important. Effective listening, Richardson says, effective listening is more than just hearing. It's an active process. It's something we continually do. And we have to actively listen. We have physical factors and personal factors. Talking and listening to each other, Peterson says, ought to help us get along. Talking and listening ought to help us get along. That should strengthen our relationships one with another. Then there's feedback. There's all different types of feedback. There's the listener feedback, reception of feedback, and feedback of problems. In the listener feedback, there's the empathy and the paraphrasing and the immediacy and the clarity. And with the feedback reception of feedback, there's the open-mindedness, the helpfulness. And then here's the problems with the feedback. It is advising and analyzing and judging. So some of those things we need to avoid. We don't always need to advise. We don't always need to analyze. And we certainly don't need to be judging it. Now I have an action plan. And my action plan, it's things that I plan on doing so that I can perfect all of those things that I've learned. Brian Tracy says communication is a skill that you can learn. It's like riding a bicycle or typing. If you are willing to work at it, you can rapidly improve the quality of every part of your life. Not just one part of your life, but every part of your life. And then my first action plan is, most of all, don't be afraid to be assertive. To steady eye contact, to be able to look at someone and to know that I am there with them and they are here with me, and to increase my own confidence. Listen actively. Even though I'm a good listener, there's always something to learn. To be outgoing and less inhibited. To ask questions. Oftentimes I don't ask questions, and now I'm learning to be able to ask more questions. To respect for others and for myself. Also, to jump into conversations and share my opinion. It's okay that you share your opinion one with another. And aggressiveness and assertiveness. And you want to be able to have a balance in those. You don't want to be more aggressive. You don't want to be more assertive, but you want to have a balance in the two. My second action plan is dealing with emotions. You use I, which is acknowledge your point of view. Sometimes you just have to acknowledge your point of view. Be honest and straightforward. Try to understand the feelings and perspective of others' words. Don't interrupt others and become frustrated in your conversations. Discern why people want you to do certain things and to enjoy relationships instead of enduring them. My interpersonal communication project, most of all, I have learned that listening is the most valuable and least taught communication competence. The most valuable, listening. Sometimes we don't take the opportunity to listen. That's why Peterson wrote the book, Why Don't We Listen Better? And my goals of listening, Schrader says in the article, he says listening towards relationships, toward leadership, and toward fairness. These are all the things that we should be doing. My communication barriers and strengths and weaknesses and resources and strategies, all of these things I'm going to use to effectively communicate. And I want to speak out and let my voice be heard. And you should speak out and let your voice be heard. God has given us a great voice in this world and in this nation. And we ought to use everything that we've been given to effectively communicate with all our friends, our families, our community, our co-workers, our members at our church. Do it so that we can give glory to God. I hope that you've learned something throughout this last few minutes. God bless you. Have a wonderful day.